right. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Weekend Wrap. My name is Corey. It is May 16th, 2021. Let's take a look at what's going on in the markets. So, as far as the news goes for this week, the hot or the most active news events that have been happening as of late is the conflict between Israel and Palestine. So as it currently stands, or actually it was today, an Israeli airstrike in Gaza killed 42 Palestinians, including 10 children. I know this doesn't necessarily relate a ton to the markets as of yet. However, I think it's a really important event that we are paying attention to because it's controversial, and B, as a longtime supporter of Israel, increasingly violent conflicts over there just increase the the risk of bringing the U.S. into the conflict. So, like I said, 42 Palestinians were killed today, including 10 children. The Israeli military stated that the civilian casualties were unintentional, and they'd been targeting a tunnel system that was used by militants, which collapsed, which inevitably took out the homes in the area. The Israelis also destroyed a 12-story building where Al Jazeera, which is the TV network, had offices, although Netanyahu stated that it also has militants and therefore was a legitimate target. The death toll in Gaza currently stands at 192, including 58 children, versus 10 people in Israel, 2 of them being kids. Essentially, what happened when this really escalated, so fighting broke out after an Israeli Supreme Court decision to evict 4 Palestinian families from an area in East Jerusalem, which is informally annexed to Israel, but is part of Palestine under international laws. Protests broke out on both sides, and the following day, the Israeli military stormed a major holy site, where violence erupted with explosives fire exchange, as well as rubber bullets, and people throwing rocks. Hamas responded by firing rockets into Israeli territory the following day. And basically, if you go back historically, the Israelis claim ownership of the land dating back to the 1870s, although the Palestinians have objected to this, the claim over the land. And currently, you have Palestinian families living in this area in East Jerusalem, but it's currently occupied by Israel. Apart from that, gasoline shortages that have plagued the East Coast over the last week eased on Sunday, today, as the largest pipeline in the United States recovered from a recent cyber attack. So if you haven't heard, this is the largest pipeline that runs between Texas, largest pipeline in the U.S., which runs between Texas and New Jersey, supplies 45% of the gasoline for the East Coast, and it was taken down by a cyber attack last Friday, I believe it was. But they said it's going to take a little bit of time for the fuel to get back out to all the gas stations. I know in Washington, D.C., 80% of gas stations had zero gas. Bitcoin also dropped below 45,000 after Elon Musk reported that Tesla would no longer accept Bitcoin as payment for new vehicles, citing environmental concerns. They stated that Tesla would not be selling any of its Bitcoin, but it still tanked the market regardless, and Elon Musk has received quite a bit of backlash for this, with Bitcoin falling 17% and triggering corrections across the entire spectrum or the entire array of cryptocurrencies. BTC has also penetrated the low volume node near 45,000, meaning prices may fall until we revisit the next area of balance near 32K, which you can see on the left here. The U.S. has administered over 273 million COVID vaccines to date, encompassing over 83% of the population. So the more vaccines that are being distributed, the more we get back to normal everyday life, the higher the likelihood we may see interest rates rise. So just kind of be on the watch for that. All right, let's see what's on the calendar for this coming week. By the way, if you're watching on TikTok right now, I don't have the ability to see the chat. You can see that I one of my monitors is now a 32-inch television, but that also means that I have to keep my phone further back. So I apologize. If you mention something in the chat, I'll try to check periodically if I can, but I apologize if I don't respond right away. So here's the economic calendar for this coming week. Monday, no major events. On Tuesday, we have building permits for the month of April. Wednesday, we have crude oil inventories. Looks like last week we had a pretty major draw at negative 7.9 million barrels. And this coming week, it's forecasted only 0.23. Wednesday, we also have the FOMC meeting minutes coming out from 2 weeks ago. Thursday, we have initial jobless claims as well as the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index. And you'll notice on the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index, the forecast is only 43, which is a pretty massive drop from April. So that essentially, it says May, but that's... I'll have to double check that. Anyways, it's a pretty major decline from where manufacturing was at previously. And then Friday, last but not least, we have existing home sales for April. All right, here are the major earnings for this week. So we have 10 Cent Music and Plug Power reporting tomorrow. Tuesday, we have Walmart, Home Depot, Baidu, and Tilray. I think Tilray may have reported early at a pretty substantial loss, at least for EPS. Wednesday, we have Cisco, Lowe's, and Target. Thursday, Tencent, Applied Materials, and Ross. Friday, we have Deere. Also, some pretty interesting IPOs on Thursday. So we have Squarespace, Oatly Group. That's a beverage company. Procore Technologies. They design software for construction management. And then we have ZipRecruiter IPOing on Thursday as well. So pretty big week for IPOs. All right, so last week on the S&P, you can see that we had a pretty major decline with Tesla tanking over 12%. Also, Disney was down substantially, as well as the major tech leaders like Microsoft, Apple, Google, etc. The only sectors that were relatively positive last week were financials and healthcare, but pretty much everything else was in decline. And here's the last month. So you can see in the last month, Tesla has lost a whopping 20%, which is just insane. And you can also see, where tech had been extremely bullish in April, I think it was late March, early April. It's now definitely in a state of correction, whereas the rest of the market seems to be leading the pack. Okay, so here's where it stands so far on the S&P futures tonight. So you can see that we opened with an open test drive, testing above Friday's high before immediately reversing. The lack of aggressive volume suggests that the day time frame shorts are currently in control, and that sentiment is primarily rotational. My short-term bias is neutral bearish, while my long-term bias remains bullish. As it stands, we are likely to open within range tomorrow, with potentially the long and intermediate term bulls re-engaging as long as we remain in balance. So like I said, if we look at the midterm chart here, this is a 1 hour versus the 5 minute I just showed you. So you can see on Thursday and Friday, things were really strong coming up off of the correction here. I would imagine that these are the long time frame longs that are defending their positions. And you can see the level of aggression, particularly on Thursday, right here. You can see on Thursday, things were very, very bullish to the upside. And we're currently approaching a supply zone. We've got this low volume node right here where people are likely to be selling from. Give me 1 sec. I'm just going to check the chat, make sure I'm not missing anything important here. Okay. So as far as the long-term analysis goes, the major uptrend has most definitely been, the long-term trend has been bullish. And you can see the correction last week, which was bought up rapidly, bringing us back into balance. So if we look at the high volume node on the left, we are essentially right in the middle of it. So things are relatively neutral, but the long-term bias typically tends to overwhelm any of the other time frames. So that's why my bias is primarily long. However, I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens on the open tomorrow. All right, here are the setups for this coming week. So most of these are going to be longer term plays. You'll notice that the time frame that I utilized to find these setups was all daily or higher. So these are not designed to be scalps or short term trades. This is more of a buy and hold swing trade at a minimum type play. All right, so this is Banco Santander. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a Spanish multinational bank. Whoops, sorry about that. So you can see that these guys have been in a very strong uptrend so far this year. I think this is a daily chart that we're looking at. However, we are right at the bottom of for the last 10 years, basically, it's been pulling back. And it was trading at a high of 21.41 back in 2008. And then late last year, it bottomed out at $1.71. Now, I'm not saying that this is necessarily a great play on a fundamental basis. However, we're right in line for a potential breakout right here. So you can see this resistance that we have up here, and we are poised to take it out. So in terms of a potential value play, something that has sold off substantially and is now likely to come back into balance, I think this would be a great area to engage and get it for pennies on the dollar. Okay, so next up we have Bright House Financial. So recently we broke a major long-term level near 48.14. You can see this is right here. So this is a longer-term hold / value play, and primarily since we have broken into the low volume node and a major turning point in the long-term trend. So this is a daily time frame, and this particular security hasn't really been on the market for that long. So I believe it IPO'd. This may be pretty much its whole lifespan, actually. Now that I remember. So you can see that the tides are turning, and the bulls are starting to overwhelm the shorts, and we're breaking into new areas of trade, and we're likely to retest this high volume node, potentially the all-time high, in the next couple months. Last but not least, we have BCE Inc., otherwise known as Bell Communications. So this is a Canadian telecom company, and it is approaching a major inflection point dating all the way back to 2013. So you can see the past 8 years, it's been stuck in this trading range, and just now it's starting to come up aggressively, looking towards the high. So it could go either way. If we can get a breakout to the upside, we're breaking new ground. That's clearly long-term money coming in, which we always want to trade on their coattails. So potentially a very nice long entry coming up here. Or if not, it's an opportunity for us to fade the correction back into balance here. So either way, it's a fairly decent opportunity. If we can break upward to the bull, in a bullish demeanor, so to speak, it would be quite favorable. And note, this is a weekly time frame, so again, this is not designed to be a scalp or a short-term play. This is something where you're going to stick your money in it and let it saturate. So in any event, as it stands, I'm going to be waiting for the market to show its hand on the open to see whether long-term bulls will be re-engaging. My suspicion is that we will remain in balance and slowly continue grinding higher, though it will take high volume to break above 4180. That's the low volume node that I pointed out before. So again, don't forget the FOMC meeting minutes will be released at 11 a.m. Pacific on Wednesday, with manufacturing numbers coming out on Thursday. Also, don't forget, we have Walmart, Target, Cisco, Tencent, Home Depot, as well as Lowe's reporting earnings this week. as well as some very appealing IPOs on Thursday. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Good luck tomorrow. Wish you the best. And yeah, like I said, I apologize I haven't been around more lately to do the morning brief. I'm kind of shifting my demeanor and in a stage of transition between futures and equities and options. So I look forward to being able to give you guys some more decent stock tips in the coming future, and hopefully option strategies as well. So thanks so much, guys. Appreciate you as always. Take care.